All right. So according to the red light, we are live.
Yep.
And so good afternoon, Corey.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon for you. And good morning for everyone else, or good evening. So right now I have Korey Barton here with me. And well, first of all, let me ask you. I haven't asked you yet. How's COVID-19 be treating you?
Well, it's given me a lot of time to work on my comics. Stay at home. It
I
hasn't been treating me too bad, but yeah.
feel this COVID-19 is like a Thanos snap, isn't it? It indiscriminately chooses who's gonna. So it's either you're snapped or you're not. It's really,
Yeah. Very scary.
I've after 1 month of staying at home, I basically turned into a ball of fat and then groomed, overgrown hair. So that's why I'm staying away from the camera.
It's around.
Right. So I spotted your work some time ago, and you've been having an online presence for some time as well. And I got to tell you, not to honk my horn, but I've had some guys here in the past which kind of were pretty much low key online, and after they've been here, after they've been in one of my streams, I mean, they just bursted into the spotlight. I don't know what happened because I'm not that famous. My channel is definitely not that famous, but these guys went on to have they're having it right now. They're having great careers. So yeah, this channel is probably good omen to
Could be.
artists.
Could be.
I tell you, this has happened. It's factually proven. Um, by the way, there is a chat active. I might not be looking at it all the time. I'm afraid I'm not the best showrunner, but I'll try. Anyway, anyone is welcome to drop anything in the chat. Um, you can start by telling us how do you well, what's your background in terms of art? I mean, I'm presuming you're classically trained, but again, I'll let you explain this. What's the story there? Where did you
Yeah.
start it, and why did you ended up in comics? Obviously, still a young guy, but
That's all
what's
right. Yeah, basically, I guess since me and my brother were kids, we'd been like always drawing, trying to draw the cartoons off the TV, like Dragon Ball Z and different things like that. And I guess like when we really got into comics, we got like David Finch's video tutorials online, and then we got like our comic styles from that. And I think when I actually like sort of broke into like actually doing a few different comics, um, I got a comic book shop called The Vault from a guy in America for about 2 years, and that really upped my skill to where I started Kozor.
Mhm. And uh, obviously, I have to bring in your brother because he's got a
Yeah,
big
it's a
YouTube
brother.
channel, How to Draw Comics. Okay, I
Yeah,
managed to highlight the comment. That's a first for me.
that's
And you guys, I mean, is he an artist as well? I don't know him personally. So is he an artist or a writer, or and
yeah.
he's
So
gonna help you to publish this? How does it work?
that's all right. So yeah, he's a big artist himself, even bigger than me, and he's actually helped me a lot with growing on my skill levels. So he's got his own website, the howtodrawcomic.net, where he's actually trained different artists to up their
Oh,
skill levels and different things like that in comics.
oh, so he's your mentor then. All right, that's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
he's been a very big mentor. Yeah,
Yes, I do know the website as well. Yes, I did forget that, but and I had come across the tutorials as well. But that's does he have his own work coming out, or he's just focusing in helping you out with what you're doing at the moment?
yep. So with Co's or issue one, because we're going to go to print, he's going to help, organize the editing, do a few draw overs, and like edit the dialogue. He's going to help me out a lot with that. And he's going to go onto his own comic with Renegade Alpha, which is like a cyberpunk
Awesome,
or
awesome.
a sci-fi comic. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna start screen sharing so people can see what we're talking about.
Yep.
And I think we should be there. If I just maximize this, people can see what we're talking about. All right, this seems to be your
Yep.
plan,
So that's
Kozor
the
issue 1, right?
first issue. Yeah. So that's where one we're gonna fix up and get printed.
Hmm. Very intense. What is the story of Kozor then? Just give us a little pitch here.
Yeah. So the story of Koza. Well, the first issue revolves around this sort of character on the front called Chief Baron, and the humans are sort of at war with like this massive demon race in the comic. And within the first issue, Chief Baron's got to go find these faceless people to train as warriors to help fight the demons. And that's what the whole issue is about, along with a lot of different monsters and nightmare scenes in it as well.
Okay, let me start sharing some of the artwork, the interior pages. Okay, so well, first of all, this is you work digitally, right? This is not a traditional
Yeah,
pen and ink, is it?
it's all done digitally.
Hmm. And you do everything from the plot, the script, and the colors as well, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely everything for Koza.
there's some pretty intense stuff in this book, man. Some pretty intense imagery. Now, tell me, what's your inspiration for all these designs? I mean, are you like a horror movie fan? You like H.P. Lovecraft? Where do you get all these ideas?
Well, I think what really motivated me to get started with Koza was like this Berserk comic or the Berserk manga. Really started me
Hmm.
off with like getting inspired to want to do my own comic because I collected this big sort of like giant volumes of it, and I just wanted to do my own fantasy comic as big as that. And they've got a lot of different horror and monsters in it as well.
Right. Um, it's pretty awesome, man. I mean, the babes obviously they're hot, and then the gore is like out of scale, man. I mean, she's just literally slashed this guy's skin as far as I can see, so that everything inside is exposed.
Well,
But then
those
but then he's
those two, so that she's actually called the Silent Witch, and that monster is like her pet. So she rides
hmm.
around on his back throughout the comic.
Okay. Let me
So
just
basically, team.
I wanted to go here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, before we get into the actual artwork that you do, which is really impressive. I wanted to ask you. I mean, what is you got some historical references behind this because the design of some of the characters here I've noticed, or most of them, it's like it feels very much like 1600s colonial, like the Spanish colonial of the Americas, the America period, America colonialism. What is your references behind this? Is it a mishmash of styles of things you kind of gather together, or
Uh,
is all from your own idea?
yeah, a lot of it can be from imagination. I guess I would usually reference like just like different medieval images on Google, find different bits of armor and stuff I could reference to put on my characters and come up with them.
Hmm.
And
Okay, so
so,
it's a mixture of stuff, yeah.
yeah, very much a mixture of things, all put into the like sort of the overall fantasy world of Kozor.
You see, for example, this picture here. This is one of the first ones I've seen
Yeah.
online actually, and this is
So this is
just
basically shows like the consequences of the war between the humans and the demons, and all the dead bodies.
just to give people. I don't want to blow this up too much because then you're gonna miss out on the actual the actual full design of it, but just to give people an idea of what we're looking at here. You
Yeah.
got this churchyard in ruins. You got a guy hanging from the balcony there. You can see it. But then you got these mountains of putrefied corpses. I mean, I guess they're fossilized by now, isn't it? It's just this mountain of corpses. And
Yeah.
as
Rotting.
and here in the foreground, we have shallow graves. Again, there you go. That's the design that I was thinking of, in the war robe. This guy looks very much like something of the High Middle Ages, isn't it?
Yeah,
I
I
think
think for
this
him,
is
I
set.
actually referenced a few like traditional medieval old drawings they sort of had.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
was going at as well. Your line work, your hatching, and all that. That's all very reminiscent of that. But so you said this is set in an imaginary place, or this is actually as a particular time in place in time where the story is set.
Yeah, so it is all like its own sort of fantasy world, but I guess like because I've referenced like different images of like medieval times, you can see that sort of represented as well.
Hmm hmm
Yeah.
And then obviously here in the foreground, which is pretty cool, you got this really intense dark brooding, this skullish kind of almost looks like a little bit inhuman, but it's pretty impressive, and the way this is constructed, man, the way you constructed here the foreground and the middle ground, that's pretty good,
Yeah, thanks.
and this is quite impressive. And so not only we got here a nice thematically, we got some nice visuals here. All
Yeah.
these kind of Middle Ages kind of setting. Then you also have I have to approach as well the color work you do. Now
Yeah.
that's pretty strongly saturated, but the way you blend all these tones, it is aggressive, but aggressive in a good way. I mean, this is all, and it makes the whole page kind of or a panel kind of go one way or another. It kind of it pressures, to me at least, it pressures the viewer, into feeling one thing or another, because you always use like a main tone as far as I can see. Like for example, you got the greens here and blues, and
Yeah.
then again when you get to the beginning there of the shot of the witch, you basically turn into reds and purples and stuff like that. So here we go. So
Yeah.
how do you approach the color work on this? I mean, again, you do it all by yourself, right?
Yep. So I do all the colors by myself for it. I think for some reason I always wanted to sort of use like very vibrant, nice colors to contrast with like the gritty nature of the artwork.
Hmm
So I think it sort of blends very well. But yeah, like my whole
Yeah.
coloring process, I just use different layers in Photoshop to build it all up.
And all these are actual pages from the book, right? None of these are actual pinups or posters or anything like that, isn't it?
Yeah, these are all different pages in the Kozo comic book. So some of these are from the second issue that's going to come out as well. So yeah.
Okay, so obviously you got these really nightmarish designs here, and now I'm just curious about the actual script. I mean, not the plot, but just your dialogue. You got some stuff
Yeah.
here. That really blows my mind what you've done here. You got this tree here. What is it? You got this tree top and then the tree roots. So this is kind of warping itself around, right? This seems to be like a nightmare
Yeah,
sequence, isn't it?
so yeah, it is definitely a nightmare sequence. So this girl is actually like an adult character in the book, but she's sort of having like a nightmare of the past, and she's like falling into the dream. So it's
Mm,
like her old self transforms into the younger
hmm
self,
Of course.
and yeah, that's her and her father.
And that is some great ideas, man. You got in there because you basically, you're grabbing a concept, like the mutation from
Yeah,
older to young, which you can have in a dream, and you
yeah,
visually represent this visually represent that in this kind of gory Hellraiser kind of picture. This triptych
Yeah.
here of panels, and
And Race is a good inspiration as well. Yeah.
yeah, and that's what I think makes it really intense. I mean, that I'm just thinking, you got these really strong visuals, and I was trying to grab somewhere. I know you guys are probably keeping that a bit in hiding, until you finally release the book. But I was trying
Yeah.
to find samples of pages with the dialogue, because I want to see how intense the writing is, because I think these visuals deserve intense writing.
That's all right. I'm not exactly too ready to show up the dialogue just yet because we're actually going to go through a lot of different editing for the first issue.
Hmm, hmm.
And then, yeah,
But
I do
I
want to
gotta
make the
tell you,
dialogue very serious. And
I managed to find one. As you can see, I've
yeah,
done my homework there. Now I don't know if this is the final dialogue, but you made this available, so I grabbed it. And yeah, I mean, I was reading, and he sounds cool. He sounds very close to what I was imagining. Because as I'm looking at the visuals, I'm thinking, man, it's probably gonna have some kick-ass poetry like, in between characters. It's gonna be some hardcore writing. Because there's one thing that could be disappointing is that you find a cool looking book, and everything seems to be in place. All the sequentials seem to be very arresting. Grabbing you by the balls, yeah. And then you
yeah,
go on to read it, and it's like, yeah, it's like faxed in. It's been faxed in. But here, I gotta say, this is exactly what I was hoping to be. There's some nice
yeah,
vibration here.
yeah. Like, I think because I was mainly an artist, one of the things I was really worried about was all the dialogue. So, yeah, that was one thing I worked probably almost the hardest on, was trying to make sure it sounded good. Because, yeah.
Very good. And it's good to hear you guys are gonna do some strong editing work on this on the text. I'm
Yep,
really
we're
looking forward
hoping
to read it.
to really improve it, make sure it's good.
Let me just go back here and show off
Yeah.
some of the work here. Now, tell us, pulling this up because I think this is at the moment your cover, right, for issue 1.
Yeah, this is the original cover. That's also a wallpaper.
Hmm, hmm. By the way, could I just do a suggestion? Could I just make a suggestion? I think this is so good that you guys should rename from issue 1. You should rename it volume 1. It deserves to be called a volume. I mean, I'll leave it to you guys. Maybe it doesn't mean anything, but I think it will make it much more dignifying. What do you think of that?
I do like it. I do like it. We'll see in future. I think because issue 1 and 2 are so long, might be able to make a graphic novel out of the both of them soon.
I tell you one thing. As obviously you guys, or as yourself, you get more into the indie comic community, you're probably going to hear, especially the people that are launching stuff on Indiegogo, including myself, you're probably going to hear
Yeah.
a lot of guys suggesting that you actually condense both of the issues or both of the volumes and do a thick graphic novel. I mean, because obviously now with the comic book shops closed and declining market, and obviously the crowdfunding stuff kind of picking up a lot of steam. Many people are conceding that the future of comics is really the graphic novels, is really the trade paperbacks. And eventually the floppies are just gonna go into oblivion. Just gonna be all trades. So you're probably gonna get a lot of guys suggesting that you. But I gotta say, you as you just mentioned, your first issue is 30 something pages, right?
Yeah, well, with the sort of redo, because I'm going to add in extra pages as well to beef up the story. It's going to be 42 pages.
That's it. You have enough there to make to put add a little spine to it, and make it a single trade, a single graphic novel, and then I would leave the second volume for a separate occasion, which is as well quite long, right? 50 something pages or 60 pages.
Yeah, the second issue is about 60 pages.
Yep, I
It's
remember.
going to be very long, and
Yeah, so you might get suggestions like that to merge the two, and then you'd have a hundred and something book page. But as you already have so many pages, I would keep it two separate issues, two separate volumes, basically, and you still
yeah,
have plenty there to offer. I'm bringing up this picture here because I wanted to go through the process here. Actually, if we go a little bit further back, and this is great. This probably shows it a little bit better. Well, this is kind of your sketch layout
yeah.
example
So
here.
it's not the very first part, but it's like sort of like the outlines,
Yeah,
like the
I
fine
can,
line around everything to make sure it makes sense, and then we go into the shadows and rendering.
yeah, an inking outline, isn't it? And then this is your
Yeah,
first layer of you basically
yeah,
spotting the blacks here and all that, and then you got the final result here. Look at this, Jesus Christ! Now, well, this
yeah.
is a little bit difficult here to get it quite, but that's pretty dense, man. Look at that, Jesus Christ! How do you go about
Yeah, I
doing
love
this?
doing my details in the comic.
Magic. So how long? I know obviously it's digital stuff, but how long? And nonetheless, obviously you got to put in the work. How long for all these? Well, this is the cover. I guess this is a double spread, isn't it? This is a wraparound cover or something. Yeah.
Yeah, so like
How long for something like this?
it depends on like a few different variables, I guess. Like this cover, obviously, because all the detail probably took me about a week to do because I put in a lot into it. I think for important pages, I'll take like a few days, and very fast pages can almost be done in a day.
That's a lot to go through, man. I mean,
Yeah.
I presume you have. I mean, I don't know. I mean, tell me what's the process here. Do you have like a black background and then you just drop in the whites here, or you just start dancing this with black? I mean,
I'll,
obviously here is
it starts off
you
like
put
most
the black.
traditional, like comic art, where you use pencil, I'll digital pencil, sketch it out very roughly, and then basically jump into like using an ink sort of brush to outline everything and just do it all traditionally.
It's pretty good, man.
Yeah.
What's your to go guys in comics? I mean, what you're a fan of? What sort of work you're a fan of? Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld?
Oh, yeah.
Because
We
I'm
we were actually
picking
going
up
on
a
a
few of those
stream.
lines here.
Yeah, we managed to get on a stream this morning with David Finch, and he's been a very big sort of influence on both of us. So I'd say David Finch's artwork has influenced mine the most. But I guess like I've had a lot of different experimentation. Bernie Wrightson is also good influence.
I noticed that. I picked up on rights in here and there, especially in the
Yeah,
creature design and all that stuff, and the contrast between stuff in the background and the foreground.
yeah.
I got to check out that David Finch stream. That was just a little while ago.
Yeah, so it was with Jimmy Reyes, and Jimmy's actually doing another variant cover for Kozer as well, which I'm
Oh
looking
yeah,
forward.
yeah,
He's very good at inking.
yeah. I know
So
him. He's good. Great feathering. Yeah, great inker. That guy. He does take his
yeah,
time.
so
He
very
does it
excited.
all. He does it all traditionally yet, isn't it? He hasn't moved on to digital, does it? Jimmy Rice.
I'm not exactly sure actually. I think he was doing this latest one digitally. Yeah, he does. He does do digital inks
Oh,
as
he does
well.
as well. Right. Okay.
I think he does a bit of both. But yeah, he's very talented as well.
Now, obviously, I don't have the full resolution pictures of this, but nonetheless, and
That's
it is obviously intense stuff. You want to speak about some of these creatures as I go through the pages?
Yep.
Anything, any kernel you want to give? Obviously, you might not want to spoil some things, but yeah.
It's all right. Oh yeah, I like this crow monster is one of my favorites of issue 1. They sort of like get attacked by these huge crow monsters in the first issue, in like a giant swamp. So it was a pretty fun scene to do. And yeah, Chief Baron took me a while to design him because he's like the main character. He's the guy with the fish mask.
Yeah. It's got one eye. Is a hollow eye or a decaying eye? What's going on here with his left side eye?
He's actually got like a sort of like a fake eye. It's like a wooden ball inside the socket. So I can't exactly spoil what happened to him, but in later issues, he's going to have a whole story about that. So it'll be good.
All right, he's a nasty decaying hole he's got there.
Yeah,
this is pretty cool. Again, this is one page. Yeah, this is a splash page. It's not a pin-up or anything like that, is it?
Yeah, it's not a pin-up. So, like throughout the comic book, it'll have like these sort of special pages with like the full spread of like the characters, just to, like introduce them, make them look special and stuff.
I got the color version here. Look at this. Very nice, man. The way you saturate it, it's pretty cool.
40 characters.
And and you mentioned some of the line work you do here. I mean, I was especially actually noticing it in that other picture of the main character you got here, when he's got his concubines kneeling by his legs. I can find it again.
Yeah.
Let's go back a little bit. I got so many pictures on my laptop that this is getting a bit slow. There we go. This picture here. You were mentioning the stuff. You said you picked up on old engravings and all that, and that's exactly the sort of line work I see here. It reminds me of that. Here in the clouds and all that. It really reminds me of some of those old books.
Yeah,
like old illustrations.
Different, like sort of old school comic book artists, I guess. So, just picked up.
All right, so go ahead. Tell me any old artists in particular that you found yourself browsing through before this?
I guess we got like Bernie Wrights, and I think for those clouds, I was inspired by like a bit of Mark Silvestri or Jim Lee or something. It's just like you flip through a comic book, try to find what the reference of a sky was, and you just experiment and work out how to do it all.
Yeah, I got you, man. A little bit of a mishmash. Yeah, I was just thinking something even older, like from the illustration from the beginning of the 1900s. Like the original strips, the original comic strips. It used to be like these guys, which had classic background in painting and all that, and they used to bring these guys to do some strips because obviously most strips were aimed at kids. But as things started evolving, they used to bring these guys, and they really added some really, cool textures to the strips.
Yeah, probably not that far back. Well, probably, I guess 90s comics inspired me a lot. You got like the Image comics and the Marvel and DC sort of inspired the style. But yeah, it's very much a mishmash of different things I pick up.
I mean, here you have the Baron guy, because I can see his armor still here, and it's like he's got his meat, his muscle is stripped out, bones are exposed, and then the spine comes to the front, I guess. So like body turns on itself, and on top of that, you got these eyes protruding from the bones. Am I seeing this correctly? This is mad, man.
It was like a giant tongue with little eyes in it. This is part of like nightmare scene that we had before.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
yeah,
even if it's not part of a nightmare scene, I mean, it's just this is crazy stuff, man. Look at this. So that's his tongue. Wow, look at that. Tongues with spikes,
yeah,
and that all comes out from his mandible mouth now. It just becomes like these big side jaws. Wow, this is it's pretty good, man. I mean, what else can I say? It's just like
it was a
and
very
that's the
very
thing.
fun page to do.
Sorry.
That one was a very fun page to do, both the ink and color actually.
I'm pretty sure they're all very fun to do. I mean, that's the thing. A lot of times I see. I mean, I have this problem. I I like to design creatures, but I get completely I get completely stuck. Like the first 5 minutes in, and I'm like, okay, well, I've seen this before. This is no good, and then I just give up. And that happens with a lot of books. Some guys have some neat ideas, but
Yeah,
you can see there's well, what I would call arrested development halfway through. You can feel it on the pages that halfway through the creation, something went wrong, something went sour. Because nobody can have the same amount of talent, isn't it? So, just like myself, you can see that the design of a particular creature or the design of a particular character could have been pushed a little bit further. It's just he feels undone. He feels that he's incomplete, and it's not the case here. I mean, you go the extra mile, man. I mean, from the headgears. I mean, the wardrobe these characters are wearing to the actual texturing of the skins and make all these things bulgy and bulbous, and then the ideas behind it, man, of just creating these creatures. The way they're done, the way they design. I mean, their anatomy and all their bits and parts. This is some
yeah.
serious shit here, man.
Thanks, man. Well, very glad you like it.
You got to be careful. If Clive Barker sees this, he's gonna hire you to design a creature film or something. But I think
Yeah,
Clive Barker
probably
is still
would.
alive. So
Yeah,
yeah, the guy from Hellraiser. We got
yeah.
fairies here as well. Yeah.
Watched few different ones with Clayton on weekends. So yeah, I love the horror movies.
Okay, it's an army of. Well, are they small or is it a creature that is gigantic?
Yeah, so they're meant to be like, yeah, the creature's gigantic. So they're like sort of angel women or human size trying to take him down
All right.
and imprison him.
So the story itself is this kind of I can see the lore you're creating for this stuff. You got all the
Yeah.
creatures, you got all the monsters. Is this going to be like sort of adventure? This takes on kind of a mythological theme. I mean,
Yeah,
as its
so
soul, basically.
basically, so the different issues all revolve around like different characters, and the characters sort of rotate around a character called Kozor, and he's almost like this powerful godlike character. He had the power to like create anything, and there's a few different themes around creation and like obviously like the nightmare stuff and like psyche, different things. I don't want to say too much in case it spoils it, but yeah, it'll be good. So the second issue actually revolves around the daughter of Chief Baron, and she's just called Alice, and she's like a warrior. And it goes through a bit of her like story as well.
I can even see a little bit of Euronymous Bosch here. I don't know if that's ever been an inspiration to you. Was a painter from the Middle Ages, a Dutch painter, and I mean some of his paintings you will know because everybody knows them. It's like Heaven and Hell and stuff like that, and the Garden of the Lights,
Yeah,
and he always has. He's always been a guy similar to Salvador Dali. He's always been a guy that likes to mix, the grotesque with the beautiful. And so you have these nubile, naked women frolicking around in the fields. and then you got these horrible mutations like the size of houses, just crushing people. And then in the middle of all that, you got the evil of men, like Inquisition torturing people, all that crap. He's a great source of inspiration, especially
Yeah,
for anyone doing this sort of thing.
yeah, I'll definitely have to look him up from the sounds of it. I've had like a lot of different artists. Like as soon as they see my work, they're always trying to compare it to something else, and they always give me another artist to sort of
Hmm.
draw from. So it's always good.
Again, you would have seen his work already. He's in the back of your mind. That's what happens with a lot of the creative process. He's in the back of your mind. You can
Yeah,
really pinpoint it, and then it just comes out, and that's great because you end up blending it with other ideas and other things. So it makes the work not be like just sidetracked or just like tunnel vision on the work, which is you end up just kind of just using one reference or another. So
yeah,
there's the
definitely.
crow guys. Is these two creatures or just one creature with two heads?
Yeah, so it's actually kind of like a blend of two pages together. So it's like the one character, but it's a different sort of scene. You see like the
All
difference in
right,
the,
okay.
I guess. So yeah,
Does it have the same chick
yeah,
before
it's the
and
same
after?
shit. So that page is basically telling a story of like how those two characters sort of met and they fell in love with each other in a way.
Oh man, so you got bestiality in here. That's even better.
It's not quite bestiality, but
Not quite. He's a humanoid crow, so yeah, that,
yeah,
that
it's
gives
human.
I'll give it a pass then. What's the rating of this book, man? Is this well, it's clearly like not an all ages book, is it? But is this aimed at a mature audience, or how is that going to
Yeah,
be?
it's definitely more aimed for like adults. It's got a fair share of different like violence and action. Got your sexy heroines in there and stuff as well.
Yeah, I'm loving the interiors as well of this dilapidated, let's say, abbey, isn't it? It's kind of a chapel or a church.
Yeah, it's like an old rundown church. It's falling apart. You can see like the floors sort of like caved in.
Yeah, like the wood. That's pretty nice detail. Again, I mean, it's all down to textures, man, and you really nailed it.
Yeah,
Really amazing textures, Yeah, the floor because when you do. I mean, I would be trying to approach something like this, which I would never in a million years even dare to approach. But if I would say in an alternative reality, my dumb me would just start doing the floor as like these actual wooden floorboards. So I'll make every single one of them and give up after 20, obviously. And I'll never have come up with doing this because what you've done here by texturizing it this way, just you can no longer see the floorboards. And again, I don't know if this was consciously or subconsciously, but it's just the wood. It just becomes wood, like it's the roots of a tree. Just like
yeah,
breaking down and degrading themselves, but and blending into the soil.
yeah.
But
It's a
I
good.
mean,
Yeah, like I think there are definitely a lot of different scenes I wanted in the comic, but it's always like how you're gonna do it, and yeah, a lot of different sketches at the beginning before I like work it out. But it's like if you don't experiment and at least try, you won't ever know what you sort of get out of it. So yeah, I remember this sort of church bit was very hard to do at the beginning, but yeah, worked it out in a
yeah.
way.
I mean, again, I'm sure each one of these budgets must take you a ungodly amount of hours. I mean, because this is it's all about texturing, and that's the thing. I mean, doing this, you blend everything together, and you can actually feel the idea that you're presenting here. It's something that is old, as and nature has already taken over, and that's great. Again, it would not
Yeah,
be what I would do. A lot of people would approach it in a completely different way, and then you don't have the same end result. This end result right here, it grabs you. It's like a punch in the gut.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think like the texturing part and the rendering, it's probably actually like the most easiest. It's more or less like the beginning parts where you establish like the poses and the whole scene. Now it's all going to go together. That's the tricky part. But yeah,
Yeah. Well, layout is important, obviously, but nonetheless, don't sell yourself cheap. I mean, the texturing here is wow, is big, and and there's always the case that you can either go too much on it and just making everything unreadable,
oh
or
yeah,
just
definitely.
apply just the right amount and just make something extra special. So, and I think I think you've hit the right level. So
Yeah,
it's an important thing to keep in mind.
yeah. It looks like you've grabbed a few different. You grabbed the artwork from a few different places. I'm shocked. You went on a bit of hunt for it.
No, I think it's all from the same place. I think you posted all these in one of your pages online.
All right.
I think it's all from there. I don't
I
remember
can't even
visiting anywhere
remember.
else. Well, as I said, guys, Korey Barton has been for quite some time online, been posting this amazing work, and well, you already forgot about it, and not enough eyes have been on this, and that's a sad problem, I mean, it's,
Yeah, well, that's sort of the whole reason we're trying to do like an Indiegogo now and just get it printed. Like we're hoping to do a few more streams and just like get it out there.
there
So
used to be a time where I started hustling indie comics back in the 90s, and there used to be a time where obviously none of these promotion tools existed. So you
mm,
literally had to go into comic book shops, well, like people were still doing until recently, because now they're all closed. But
yeah,
you used to go into comic shops and used to make yourself friendly with the guys that own the places and run the places, and try to fudge your stuff in. And now, obviously, back then, it was difficult for the really good artists, the guys that actually had great books to be seen. Now it's kind of it's a different kind of talk to me now, because now everyone can be seen. There's all these tools of promotion, but at the same time now there's way too much promotion, way too many people obviously taking advantage of what is in place to promote themselves, and it's just is another scale of problem, isn't it? Back in the days, you couldn't get seen, and now there's too many people being seen.
yeah, exactly. Well, I guess it's bad in one way and good in the other. I mean, we get more cool, different indie comics out there in the world. But yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, this is obviously not a complaint about it. This is great that now we got all these. This is something I
but
actually brought.
this,
I actually spoke about this before in one of the streams, but yeah, I mean, it's great that now we have all these vehicles to promote ourselves. But at the same time, the market now is so flooded with talent that it becomes difficult to actually win any race. And that's why I do these streams, to make people aware that there's some special talent out there that definitely needs to be seen. But anyway, you guys are already on the right way, because you got a YouTube channel and a website.
yep, yeah, we got a few different things going on.
Now I know you, of course, your brother is in the chat, just to say hello to him. And I'm not sure how many people are watching, but no matter,
Yeah,
because then we'll be able to share this once it's it's finished.
it's all right.
Okay, that doesn't matter.
That's your icon for it, the thumbnail.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Um, well, if you wanted, I can perhaps share my screen. I did have the first issue up with a bit of dialogue. Perhaps show the first few pages.
Yeah, go ahead. Now I'm just gonna remove that, because again, like I explained in the beginning, I'm still trying to get around this interface of StreamYard.
Yep.
Um, How do I
I
how
guess
do
I'll
I
just try to
screen
share it
share
now.
your screen? Let me see.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure how I do it. Do you on your side have a share screen?
Yep. So I just put on Korey Barton's screen.
Oh
I'm not
yeah,
exactly.
there you go. I got it. Got it.
Yep. So you can see
This is
the
it, yeah.
JPEG.
And I want
Yeah.
to make it full screen. There you go. Go full screen this time. Floor is yours.
Yeah. So this is the first issue of Kozo, the classic edition, and so basically these are the first few pages. So this is actually how the dialogue did change.
Oh yeah, that changed. That's right. I
Yeah,
see.
you had a very. I'm surprised you had some of the images because you had very early dialogue in it.
Yeah, I'm a fan, man. I
Yep.
collect everything. Oh yeah, so
Yeah,
you went from
good.
dialogue to captions. All right, that's it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, so it's meant to be more like sort of mind dialogue.
I
This
like that.
basically is bird scene just of like a nightmare Chief Baron is having with his daughter Alice, as you can see.
Yeah,
And
you need that introspective kind of POV, isn't it? Because the images are so strong. You need something to kind of anchor the imagery, make it more so you kind of know what's going on behind the minds of the characters. So yeah, that's a good idea. Make it
yeah,
more of what the character is thinking that actual just the narration and the exposition coming through dialogue.
yeah,
I always have a thing for narrators. I have a thing for captions. I prefer to give my exposition through that instead of through dialogue because and the narration boxes it's because they're boxes. They get in the way of the art a lot of the times. And with the bubbles, you can move them around and kind of play
yeah,
around them with them enough so they kind of are clear. The art is clear of them because you can move the bubbles and kind of structure the bubbles differently, make them
yeah,
make them thinner or longer. With the captions, you can. But at the same time, there there is that. Well, obviously, that's what captions are for. There is that very literal quality to a caption. That when you read the caption, it's almost like you're taking out a paragraph of a prose book or a poetry book, and then you putting it on top of an illustration, on top of a visual, and that for me makes the caption very significant, very important. It adds a certain amount of strength to the caption.
yeah. It's very true, very true. And definitely like just the placement of captions is very important as well, I guess. So
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
we
because
did take a while just trying to place everything, but yeah,
that's the thing with the caption. The caption actually is driving the story, it's driving the plot. So it's actually driving the eye of the reader from panel to panel. So you have as far as I understand it, after a bunch of years, and I might be completely wrong in this, but if there's real comic books historians out there, they're probably going to correct me. But for me, the caption is what you use to support the links between panels. So the sequence between panels. While the bubbles, you can do that, but it's usually just to be able to transport the dialogue from panel to panel and page to page. I don't know if you understand the difference I'm trying to make here, which is one thing is to actually drive the story from panel to panel with the help of the caption, and the other
yeah,
one is the dialogue. I don't think it does that. I think the dialogue bubbles don't actually support that concept. It's just when you use a dialogue bubble, you're just really doing it for the dialogue sake.
yeah, yeah. Well, I remember, yeah, I watched a few different tutorials on it. Like, I guess, like, you don't really want to put in dialogue that doesn't move the story forward at all, because if you're doing that, it's just sort of like wasting the reader's time. So you always want different dialogue that's sort of like pushing that story forward, so the reader gets
Mhm.
a sense of something's actually happening within the book. Keep that interest.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and like, so yeah, this is basically like the first scene, one of the first scenes in the book now, where he has a big nightmare.
Mm.
And this whole scene, that's actually Korey's all there, and
So
yeah.
You wanna zoom in on this just a little bit?
So this is actually like the one and only panel of Koza. He's a bit in shadow.
Oh, that's Koza. All right.
Yeah. So I won't spoil too much about this scene, but
This is the
like
opening of the first book.
Yeah. Yeah, like all these different sort of nightmare elements lead into something later on in the other comics. So you'll sort of find out what it all means.
Yeah. So you're planning how long is this book that you're planning? The whole story basically. So how long is it going to take you?
Well, originally I had planned it to be about 10 issues. So 10 issues for the first graphic novel. But it's like 2 issues make up a graphic novel. So it's going to be sort of a very long series. But, I think if I stick with it, it'll be worth it.
Yes, it's a very long story because you're planning all the issues, all the volumes to be this size, about between 30 and 50 something pages.
Yeah. So the reason like issue 2 ended up being 60 pages, it's like I always thought about them as sort of like episodes, like chapters. And I'm like, I always could have like the scenes that need to be in it. Like I don't want to be cutting anything just because of a page limit. So yeah, that's sort of where they had the size that originally had.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be long.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
I was sharing that one, but without any dialogue.
All right. We'll only do like, I guess, the beginning part of it.
Mm-hmm. So when are you guys launching this?
So in a couple of months, we'll launch it. So at the moment, we're just going to go through editing it. So we're going to, do a few redraws, changes of the dialogue, make sure it all looks very good and nice.
And because you guys, because you and your brother, you're a tag team, you guys have any other books planned for the future? Are you guys building a label of some sort, or are you just concentrating your efforts onto this book at the moment, and that's it?
Yep. So basically, like me and Clayton are going to do our own little comic book company. So it's going to be called Barton Bros Studios. I think you can actually go to the website now if you want.
Yeah, sure, the way. I mean, I can stop sharing anytime you want.
You might leave a comment where it is, but I think it's just bartonbrosstudios.com. If you Google it, you'll probably find it. And so basically, alongside me, Clayton's going to do his own comic, the sci-fi called Renegade Alpha. Mm-hmm. And he's going to have a lot of cool fighting scenes and different things. And I don't want to spoil it on him. But yeah. So we'll have like a sci-fi comic as well as a fantasy comic in our little store. Yeah.
So each one of you is going to handle one title, yeah?
Yep. Yeah, we're going to have our different titles. So I think I'll probably have my first 2 issues out, and then Clayton will go on to put his issue out on Indiegogo afterwards. Mm-hmm. We'll see what happens. But yeah.
Oh, I just noticed your brother is being very protective in the chat. He doesn't want you to. No spoilers. Don't shoot him. Shoot him, but not shoot them all.
Well, I'll show you. I'll show up to the All right, okay. I won't show too much. I'll show the page with Chip Aaron, and where he's just standing in full costume, so you guys can see.
Well, believe me, most people will be looking at the art at this moment because obviously, they'll be curious about what's happening in the story. But right now, I tell you, people are just going to be floored by the art. So, no major concerns with the spoilers.
Yeah. Well, I guess I won't show any more artwork in case Clayton gets a bit more moody. But yeah, so this is When I leave it on is Chief Baron. So he's sort of the main character of the first issue.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, you're gonna have a rotating cast of characters. He's not the main character throughout the whole series.
His character does remain in the series, but like for issue 2, it's kind of centered more around his daughter's character, and then talk about her backstory. And Chief Baron will have like his sort of own story continuing on in the background.
Yeah.
And it'll sort of all interconnect in the end. And yeah, sort of like how the Avengers movies work, where all the heroes have their own separate movies until they all come together.
Yeah, interconnected narratives. Yeah, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Sounds great and usually works very well. Okay. Well, I can stop sharing if you don't want to share anything else. I think you've shown more than enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Pretty sure people will be happy with what they've seen.
Yeah, pretty cool. Okay, let me just have a look here, see if I have anything else here in the notes. Believe it or not, I do have some notes here with questions I do ask people. Yeah, for future projects, you have. I mean, obviously, this is a humongous amount of work, and you got plenty here to go around for the next, I don't know, 10 years. But after that, do you have any other personal? I mean, any other projects planned? Any other stories you'd like to do, or what's planned in the pipeline?
I'm not exactly sure. Like, you occasionally get like the different ideas you have that you want to do for a different comic. So I've had like my own sort of sci-fi cloning comic ideas and little different things like that, where I might one day just turn it into like a short 1-issue comic experimentation, see what happens. But I think for now, Korey's I'll see how far I can take it.
Focusing all your energies on this. Yeah, well, I think you're in the right path, man. I mean, it is unlikely, not because you lack the talent, but because the industry is crumbling as we speak. But if the mainstream would come to you and invite you, give you any project, and obviously put you a nasty deadline in front of it, would you take it and stop doing your own indie comics, or you're going to be indie until the end and not take any deals with the mainstream?
I've talked to a lot with Clayton about this, and I think I'd prefer to really just sort of make our own company work. Like, I mean, DC and Marvel, like the companies have changed a lot in the years, and even Image, to where it's sort of like I sort of wouldn't want that type of pressure on my own work. I just want to do my own sort of thing. And I think because with like the whole crash, it's like leaving a lot of room for different indie creators and different comics to sort of take off.
Yeah, that's the right thing to do. I mean, when I was thinking about mainstream, obviously, I wasn't thinking about the big 2 or the big 3, but I was thinking on places like IDW. IDW, this is probably your line work is probably something that IDW would probably come knocking, because they've had in their portfolio they have similar artists, they have similar projects. So, but even then, I mean, you do the right thing on going solo because, first of all, you take all the dividends for yourself. The amount of investment that you have to put in, because being a comic is not out of this world, and obviously you're doing all the work by yourself. You're not farming out any talent, so you don't have to pay anybody. And so, you do. It's the right call. I mean, but again, I mean, this is an unlikely situation because the mainstream can't see talent even if it is dancing naked in front of them. So no worries there. These guys are more worried about getting some Tumblr generation into their payroll than anything else. All right, man. Well, I mean, I don't know if you want to share anything else or if you want to talk more about the book. It's up to you. But if not, then I'll let you carry on, and I'm gonna start.
I guess we'll probably end it soon. I think Clayton's wanting me to share around the links that we posted before on Twitter.
Now you can. Well, I mean, you can share them on the chat if you want. I think you can do that. In any way, you can send them to me afterwards. I will add them to description of the video.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. Well, yeah, it's sort of like the two I posted before on Twitter, so we'll definitely share them around so Clayton doesn't have to worry. So yeah,
Yeah,
I guess it's been a very good stream, and I really appreciate you sort of inviting me on and presenting my work.
My pleasure, man. I really like it. I'll be there on day one of your launch. I want to get a physical copy of this, and obviously you guys know what you're doing, but just make sure you get these printed on a really nice paper, because you gotta make those colors pop. You gotta make those blacks really black, and I look forward to seeing it. Really,
definitely. Well, we've got a few different friends within the whole Comicsgate community, so I think it should be good. Got a lot of different opinions and work it all out.
When you have so much detail on a page like that, and obviously because this is a dark, brooding book, the only other suggestion I can make, and I like to make suggestions, people probably just go like, but just in case, always consider if your campaign hits a stride and you really make good money on it, always consider an add-on, like a campaign goal to have a book in a maxi size, basically. So instead of just having the regular comic book US comic size, just to go a little bit higher, a little bit bigger. And
like size or A3, was it?
Well, you'll probably be thinking on an A4, because A3 is I mean that's it is nice, but that is quite an ambitious size, and and obviously there's production costs involved in that. But you definitely, for this book, for your work, I would, if I was like a publisher of a major, like a Random House publisher or something like that, then I'll be publishing this and as a hardbound book. I'll do the best I could to have this on at least an A4 size, which is a little bit bigger. But that's always something I suggest for people that I know their campaigns are going to do good. I know their books are going to have 5 or 6 figures there. And I always say, well, that should be always an extension goal. It should be to have it as a maxi size book, because some art deserves to be to be more, to have more room to breathe. To have more real estate. So I always consider that it is worth it for this book.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. I guess I'm mostly excited to just get the printed copy in my own hands and my friend's hands. So
yeah, that's always a great
thing. Have that.
Nothing beats that. I mean, it's even the birth of your first child doesn't compare to that. When you get the book out of that box, you're like, where is it? Where is it? Ah, here it is. All right, man. I'll let you go. Thank you very much for coming. I'll end the stream now, and if you want to hang around for another minute or so, it's fine. But I'll end the stream now. Thank you, everybody, for coming in, and do like and subscribe to the channel and all that stuff that you already know, because like that I can always bring more talent in here, and we can carry on showcasing these great works. Bye bye, everyone.
Goodbye.